Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast. Today, short edition for all of you that just want a little bite-sized thought,
nugget,
little piece of information that you can take and act upon. Today, we are talking about rewards.
Yes.
We've done podcasts where we've talked specifically about our thought process around goals and rewards and programming your neurology for success. And the feedback that we got is that a lot of people are like, hey man, like I read the book or I heard the episode and I have a hard time with rewards.
Right. Well, I was gonna say people, number one, have a hard time rewarding themselves in general, because we talked about that on a podcast too. They often have a sense of guilt around it or feeling guilty. And because they've never really done it before, they can't figure out what would be an appropriate reward to motivate them. And like so many times I hear people say, oh, well, number one, I can't figure out like what I want. I don't know what would motivate me. And I don't really want to spend a lot of money. Or they say something like, well, I don't really like things. Things don't motivate me. I hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. So how do I reward myself if I don't want something?
Well, when you say reward, people just think automatically like a car,
right,
or
a
new
purse
house,
or shoes or like things, right?
So that's where people get hung up. And also they think it's really expensive.
Yeah, that they've got to pay a lot of money. So what do you say to people when they say, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a reward? Or I don't know what the appropriate amount is.
I mean, and there's so much, we've seen so many people have such great success with these concepts. One, there's a lot of things that you might do already that could be considered rewards. This is sort of the punishment side of it, but some people are more motivated. It's the carrot or the stick, right? But
by the takeaway.
Well, yeah, I had a client that was like, look, I get a manicure and pedicure done every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I realized how important that was to me. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I set up a system of goals that if I achieved the goal, then I would get my manicure and pedicure. And if I did not achieve it, then I would withhold. So sometimes there could be a negative connotation to it. For me, maybe it would be playing golf on Fridays.
Right.
I just always do that. But I can imagine if I was like, man, I'm not going to play golf on Friday because I didn't do my work, what that would mean to me. I'd be pretty motivated, right? So maybe you already even have some rewards that are built into your life that are kind of rewards, but you just do them anyways. And you could design it sort of more as a withholding if you failed to accomplish. Now,
it's funny. Well, I was just going to say on the flip side, I had a client that could not figure out how to reward herself. And so I said, well, why don't you go get your nails done? Right. And she went and got her nails done and she hated it.
Well, that's
she hated the experience. Yeah. She kind of forced herself into trying to reward herself with something that she already didn't love. So that actually made the experience very negative.
Yeah, that would be like me. So, my reward is going hiking.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what the heck was this all about?
He calls hiking aimless walking, y'all. So, but yeah, you don't also want to try to force something in
because someone else was doing it. But your reward, it wouldn't be my reward.
No, exactly. Right. So don't try to force something. So with her, for instance, she said, I just don't like taking time out to do things for myself. And I said, well, what do you like? And she said, I love reading books. And she buys books all the time, and she doesn't read, on her phone. She likes to have an actual book, and she's a constant learner. And so I said, well, why don't you already are buying books. Why don't you put books in your Amazon cart that you want? And when you achieve a goal, go and buy the book, because that's something that's very valuable to you. So that was another way that she was able to reward herself with something that was already in her routine and wasn't forced to try to reward herself in the typical way that most people do.
I mean, and that's what, $20 maybe.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't have to be, a reward doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. Now,
it felt good.
But if your goal was, to make $1 million, you probably aren't going to buy a book.
$5 book,
right?
yeah.
But you because your rewards need to be in proportion to the goal that you've achieved.
Yes.
But that still is a thing.
Right.
Buying a book. So what else could it be?
Yeah. People that want things can come up with rewards really easily. Yeah. Right. So oftentimes I ask people, what are things in your lifestyle or in your day-to-day that you would love not to do? So for instance, I had somebody tell me, well, I absolutely love having a clean car, but I never have time and I hate cleaning it. So we created a reward around having a car detailer come to their place of business while they were working to detail their car. and then they get to go out and go into a detailed, beautifully clean car, and it feels successful, right? So oftentimes you can have services done. So maybe for you, it's not getting your car detailed, but maybe you hire maids for your house, right? That's a great reward. Maybe you hire a personal chef or a meal service so that you don't have to cook. So there's a lot of things that you can do that would benefit your lifestyle, that would make your life easier, that would take away things that you don't love. And that can feel very reward-ish and still give you that, like, you know, neurological embedded feeling of success that we talk about.
Well, and it also doesn't even have to be anything that you buy.
Right.
It could be time.
Could be time.
So maybe if I could accomplish everything on my checklist, or maybe if I collected a certain amount of revenue, or maybe if whatever the goal was, I met the goal, maybe I would reward myself with a day to just do nothing.
Yes.
I know that for you, that's oftentimes you'll tell me, I just need a day to not do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, well, what is that day? I mean, and again, you have to be saying to yourself, yes, right? You have to be relatable.
And then you always say, well, what are we going to do today?
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't
nothing.
know what a day where we do nothing is. It's like hiking. So we just had a blank day.
Sometimes you need to do nothing.
And it's technically impossible to do nothing. You had to do something. And so,
okay, very little. I want to do very little.
But maybe
today.
that's important to you. So maybe you take time off. Look, some of you might be so busy, right? You feel like you're so busy that you don't have time for a date night. You don't get to go to your child's practice, soccer practice. That could also be a reward. Like if I accomplish if I get my to-do list completely wiped out, well then on Friday I'm going to go to the baseball game with my son, right? And I don't mean like to take him to the Cubs game. I mean like just his game. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to enjoy that time with my son. So time is another thing that you could reward yourself with. So you could do service, you could do time. Is there anything else?
Yeah, the last thing I that comes to mind is doing something for somebody else. There's a lot. There's a lot of people I know that, you know, maybe they've always wanted to buy their parents something or pay off a loan for somebody or do something for somebody else. So
it can be for charity.
It can be for charity. Yeah, you can gift something to someone. That also can be in the form of a reward, especially if you're an individual that gets a lot of sense of worth and accomplishment by doing for others. So don't forget, it doesn't always have to just be for you, but effectively, if you're gifting something to somebody else and they're excited and they're happy, it is for you because it makes you feel
and it could be gifting
of
time, right?
Yeah.
So if I can be ahead in my business, I would have enough time that I would be able to volunteer. I could serve. I could take on a leadership role on the board of the foundation that I love, right? And so all of those things, but again, they're all conditional. We always say support is conditional.
Yes.
All of these things are conditional. And they're conditional upon you having created the ability to do that. That's why it's goals and rewards. And on the flip side of that, if you create the ability and you don't execute, then you're programming yourself to not ever return to that space. And so that's vital. You know, we shared that earlier. We wanted to just circle back with a none of your business short to discuss it because we got a lot of feedback that people were a little bit hung up because they were like, well, I don't know what I want. I don't want a purse or shoes or a watch. And so they kind of were on the border of sort of throwing the concept out.
Yes.
Hopefully today we've spurred some thought processes in you and you are like, maybe I can find something that I can reward myself with. If you did, we would love to hear about it. Go ahead and reach out to us on any of our social channels. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. I'll have James put our links in the show notes so you can connect with us because we'd love to know what your reward is. And you know what's even better is when you get the reward. Tag us, post that.
Share it.
Don't be ashamed of your success. Tag yourself with that reward and tag us. Well, don't post it yourself, but tag us. Don't tag yourself. Tag us because we'd love to see it. We rejoice in your success. In a world where so many people are trying to bring you down, sometimes people don't want to share their rewards or even reward themselves because they feel that shame, that guilt. Not us. We are going to celebrate with you. We love when you take these concepts and you are able to reach your goals and you're able to reward yourself. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave us a review. We would love to hear your thoughts as long as they're positive. If you have negative stuff to say about us, go ahead and send us an email and just write in the subject line, "Your podcast sucks." I'll just swipe it, delete, but at least you got it off your chest. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back again next week with a brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast.